Black CEO hears janitor speak 9 languages. Next move stuns his entire team. Michael Jennings stood before his executive team, his usual commanding presence now tinged with visible tension. The boardroom fell silent as the Fortune 500 CEO slammed his palm against the polished mahogany table. Tears welled in his eyes, something none of his executives had ever witnessed in their decade working under his leadership. "I've failed this company," Michael's voice cracked. "For years, I've preached innovation while ignoring the most valuable resources right under my nose." The 12 executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. Their quarterly profit projections were displayed on the wall behind Michael, numbers that would make any CEO proud. Yet here was Michael Jennings, the man who had built Horizon Technologies from a garage startup into a global powerhouse, declaring failure. Michael pointed to an empty chair at the table. "That seat belongs to Victor Alvarez. As of this morning, he's our new Director of International Relations." Confusion spread across the faces around the table. Rebecca Chen, the Chief Operating Officer, finally spoke up. "Victor Alvarez, the janitor. The same man who has been cleaning our offices for 7 years while we ignored his potential," Michael replied, his voice heavy with regret. "The man who speaks 9 languages fluently and has more international experience than our entire global team combined." The room erupted in protests and questions. How could a janitor suddenly join their executive ranks? What qualifications did he have? What would shareholders say? Michael raised his hand, silencing the room. "I've made my decision. Either we embrace this change or the boardroom doors burst open." Victor Alvarez stood in the doorway, still wearing his custodial uniform, his face pale. "Mr. Jennings, they're here. The Japanese delegation arrived early. They're in the lobby right now." The blood drained from Michael's face. The Takamura deal, a partnership 7 months in the making, their only chance to save the company from the crisis no one in this room yet knew about. "We're not ready," Rebecca whispered, panic rising in her voice. "Our translator canceled this morning, without that deal." Michael looked at Victor, a decision forming in his eyes that would change everything. But let's go back to how this all started. It was just 3 hours earlier when Michael Jennings arrived at Horizon Technologies for what he thought would be a normal Monday morning. Michael's black Mercedes pulled into his reserved parking space at 6:30 a.m., just as the early summer sun began to illuminate the gleaming glass facade of Horizon Technologies' headquarters. At 58, Michael still maintained the disciplined schedule that had helped him build his technology empire: early to rise, early to office, excellence in all things. He straightened his tie as he stepped out of the car, nodding to the security guard at the entrance. "Morning, Bill." "Morning, Mr. Jennings. Beautiful day ahead." Michael smiled briefly. Small talk had never been his strong suit, but he'd learned its importance in maintaining workplace relationships. His father had taught him that, one of many lessons from a man who had marched with Dr. King and raised a son to believe he could become anything in a world that often suggested otherwise. The lobby was quiet this early, just how Michael liked it. The only sound was the gentle hum of the cleaning equipment as the morning janitorial staff finished their work. Michael noticed an older Latino man polishing the marble floor near the elevators. The man looked to be in his 60s, with salt and pepper hair and the weathered hands of someone who had worked hard his entire life. As Michael approached, the janitor looked up and offered a warm smile. "Buenos dias, Mr. Jennings." "Good morning," Michael replied, stepping carefully around the freshly mopped area. As he waited for the elevator, Michael overheard the janitor speaking to another cleaning staff member, not in Spanish as he might have expected, but in what sounded like perfect French. Curious but distracted by the day ahead, Michael made a mental note of it as the elevator doors opened. By the time Michael reached his top-floor office, his mind was already cycling through the challenges of the day. The Takamura deal dominated his thoughts. After months of negotiation, Horizon Technologies was on the verge of a historic partnership with Japan's leading tech innovator. The deal would not only expand their market share in Asia, but would also provide the capital infusion they desperately needed after the failed product launch last quarter, a failure his board didn't yet fully comprehend. Michael's assistant, Diane, arrived promptly at 7:00 a.m. with his schedule and a cup of black coffee. "Morning, Diane. Any updates I should know about?" Michael asked, already reviewing emails on his monitor. Diane, who had been with him for 15 years, knew exactly how to prioritize information. "Sarah Miller called from PR. The shareholders are getting nervous about the quarterly report, and I'm afraid I have bad news. James Connor canceled. He's down with the flu and won't be able to translate for the Takamura meeting tomorrow." Michael looked up sharply. Connor's out. That's problematic. The Takamura delegation specifically requested a translator who understands the technical nuances. Find me a replacement, top priority. I've already called 3 agencies on such short notice for that level of technical Japanese. Diane let the sentence hang. Michael frowned. The Takamura meeting was scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Without a qualified translator, the delicate negotiations could fall apart. And if that happened, keep trying, we need someone by tomorrow. Michael tried to keep the urgency from his voice, but Diane knew him too well. It's that critical? She asked quietly. Michael hesitated, then nodded slightly. Only Diane and the CFO knew how precarious their financial situation had become. The failed launch of their new operating system had cost them millions, and the market was unforgiving. The Takamura deal wasn't just an opportunity, it was a lifeline. I'll find someone, Diane promised, closing the door behind her. The morning progressed with the usual parade of meetings and conference calls. By 11:00 a.m., Michael stepped out of his office for a rare mid-morning coffee break, needing a moment away from the mounting pressure. The executive lounge was empty except for the same janitor Michael had seen earlier, now emptying trash bins. As Michael entered, he overheard the man speaking on his cell phone in what sounded like fluent German. When the call ended, the janitor nodded respectfully to Michael and continued his work. Something clicked in Michael's mind. First Spanish, then French, now German, he approached the man, curiosity overcoming his usual professional distance. "Excuse me," Michael said. "I couldn't help but notice how many languages do you speak?" The janitor looked surprised at being addressed directly by the CEO. He straightened up, revealing a dignity that transcended his humble uniform. "9, sir," he answered with a slight accent. "Spanish is my native tongue, but also English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Japanese, Mandarin, and Russian." Michael tried to hide his astonishment. "Japanese? You speak Japanese?" "Hai Nihongo ga dekamasu," the man replied with a slight bow. "Yes, I speak Japanese. I lived in Tokyo for 7 years. For a moment, Michael forgot he was speaking to a member of the cleaning staff. "That's impressive. I'm Michael Jennings," he said, extending his hand. "I know who you are, sir," the man replied with a gentle smile. "I'm Victor Alvarez. I've been working here for 7 years. 7 years. This man had been cleaning his building for 7 years, and Michael was only learning his name today. Something about that realization made Michael deeply uncomfortable. 9 languages, Michael repeated. "How did you come to learn so many?" Victor shrugged modestly. "Life takes us on unexpected journeys. I was a professor of linguistics at the University of Mexico City many years ago. Then came the political troubles in the 80s, and, well, starting over in America was not easy for someone like me." Michael's phone buzzed with an urgent message from Diane. The momentary connection broken, he nodded to Victor. "I should get back to my office. Good talking with you, Mr. Alvarez. Likewise, Mr. Jennings." As Michael walked back to his office, his mind was working in unexpected directions. 9 languages, including Japanese, technical Japanese, he couldn't be sure, but with Connor out and no replacement in sight. When Michael returned to his office, Diane was waiting with a grim expression. "No luck with the agencies, everyone qualified is booked." Michael made a decision. "Find out everything you can about Victor Alvarez. He works on our janitorial staff, and ask him to come to my office." Diane's eyebrows rose, but she asked no questions. "Right away." 30 minutes later, there was a knock at Michael's door. Victor Alvarez entered, still in his cleaning uniform, but having changed to a fresh shirt. Up close, Michael could see the intelligence in the man's eyes, the careful way he carried himself. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Jennings? Please sit down, Mr. Alvarez." Michael gestured to the chair across from his desk. "I'd like to talk to you about your background." Victor sat down carefully, seeming neither intimidated nor overly comfortable. "Is there a problem with my work?" "Not at all. Diane tells me you were once a professor of linguistics." Victor nodded. "That was another lifetime ago. And you speak Japanese well enough to have lived in Tokyo for 7 years. I was a visiting professor at Waseda University, then worked as a translator for an international firm. My Japanese was business level, yes." Michael leaned forward. "Mr. Alvarez, tomorrow Horizon Technologies is hosting a delegation from Takamura Industries. Our translator has fallen ill, and we're in a difficult position. The meeting involves technical discussions about software integration. Would you be comfortable translating?" Victor's expression registered surprise, then careful consideration. "Software terminology has evolved since my time in Japan, but the fundamentals of the language remain. I would need to review any technical materials tonight, but yes, I believe I could help you." Michael felt a weight lift from his shoulders, replaced immediately by a new discomfort. He was asking a man who cleaned his building to step in and save a multi-million-dollar deal. The power imbalance was not lost on him. "We would compensate you properly for your time, of course," Michael added quickly. Victor regarded him steadily. "May I ask why you would trust something so important to a janitor, Mr. Jennings?" The question caught Michael off guard with its directness. "Honestly, because we're desperate, but also because you have qualifications none of us knew about until today." Victor nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty. I will help you." "Thank you. Diane will provide you with all the necessary materials and details." Michael stood, extending his hand again. "I appreciate this, Mr. Alvarez." As Victor left the office, Michael found himself wondering about the circumstances that had led a linguistics professor to become a janitor in his building. More troublingly, he wondered why he had never bothered to find out who the people were who cleaned his offices every day. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of preparation. Michael instructed Diane to provide Victor with a company laptop containing all the technical documents related to the Takamura deal. He also asked her to arrange for a suit from the company's emergency wardrobe, kept on hand for executives who occasionally needed a fresh change of clothes. At 5:30 p.m., as most employees were heading home, Michael received a message from Diane. Victor had reviewed all the materials and wanted to meet briefly to clarify a few technical points. Michael found himself impressed by the thoroughness. When Victor arrived at his office this time, the transformation was subtle but significant. He carried himself differently, not just a man doing his job, but a professional preparing for an important task. He asked precise, intelligent questions about the software interfaces and integration protocols that demonstrated a quick grasp of the technical concepts. "You understand this technology remarkably well," Michael observed. Victor smiled slightly. "I clean the engineering department every night. Sometimes I read the whiteboards before erasing them." The comment was delivered without bitterness, but it struck Michael like a physical blow. What other talents had been hiding in plain sight throughout his company? "Mr. Alvarez, Victor," Michael said carefully. "May I ask how someone with your background ended up cleaning floors?" Victor finished the question without rancor. "When I came to this country, my credentials weren't recognized. My accent was stronger then. I needed to support my family immediately, not spend years reestablishing my academic career." He shrugged. "Pride doesn't feed children, Mr. Jennings." Michael nodded, thinking of his own father who had worked 2 jobs to put him through college. "I understand. Thank you for sharing that with me." After Victor left, Michael remained in his office, troubled by thoughts he couldn't quite articulate. By the time he headed home at 8:00 p.m., a plan was forming in his mind, one that would either be the most inspired or most reckless decision of his career. Michael had anticipated this confrontation. "Sit down, Jonathan, I can explain. This isn't just unorthodox, Michael, it's reckless. We have procedures, protocols, for finding the best talent. Clearly not, or we would have discovered Victor's abilities years ago." Michael kept his voice calm but firm. "Victor Alvarez saved the Takamura negotiations today. His insights were invaluable. So give him a bonus, make him a translator, but director level, the board will never approve this." Michael leaned forward. "Jonathan, there's something you don't know. The Takamura deal isn't just an opportunity for us, it's a necessity." Jonathan's expression shifted from anger to concern. "What are you saying? The Q3 numbers are worse than we've let on. The failed OS launch cost us more than projected. Without the Takamura partnership, we're looking at layoffs by year-end, possibly worse." Jonathan sat heavily in the chair across from Michael's desk. "Why wasn't the board informed? I was hoping to present the Takamura solution alongside the problem. The deal is that significant. And this, Janitor, is critical to making it happen. Victor has already proven his value. Takamura respects him. The cultural insights he provided today have already improved our negotiating position." Michael paused. "But more importantly, this is about who we are as a company. We claim to value innovation and human potential, yet we had a linguistic genius cleaning our toilets for 7 years. What does that say about us?" Jonathan was silent for a long moment. "The optics could be spun positively, I suppose. Company recognizes extraordinary talent within its ranks." Michael shook his head. "This isn't about optics, Jonathan. It's about doing the right thing." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Rebecca entered, her expression grave. "Michael, we have a problem. The Takamura delegation just called. They want to move tomorrow's meeting up to 4:30 today. They're on their way here now." Michael checked his watch. It was already 3:45 p.m. "Why the change?" "They didn't say, but it can't be good." "Find Victor," Michael instructed. We need to be ready when they arrive. As Rebecca left, Jonathan stood. I'll be sitting in on this meeting. Michael nodded, knowing that having the board chair present might actually help demonstrate unity. Fine, but follow my lead. By 4:20 p.m., they had assembled in the main conference room. Michael, Rebecca, the CFO, the CTO, Jonathan, and Victor, now dressed in his new company suit with a temporary badge identifying him as Director of International Relations. Victor seemed concerned. This sudden change is unusual in Japanese business culture. It suggests something significant has occurred. Could they be backing out of the deal? Michael asked quietly. It's possible, or they may have received a competing offer. Victor considered for a moment. How transparent have you been about the company's financial situation? Michael exchanged glances with the CFO. We've presented a strong front. Victor nodded thoughtfully. Japanese business leaders value honesty above many other qualities. If Mr. Takamura senses he's not getting the full picture. The receptionist called to announce the Takamura delegation's arrival. As they waited for their guests to be escorted up, tension filled the room. When Mr. Takamura entered, his expression was unreadable. His team followed, including Ms. Watanabe, who looked distinctly uncomfortable. After brief formal greetings, everyone took their seats. Mr. Takamura spoke in Japanese, looking directly at Victor. Victor translated. Mr. Takamura says he appreciates us accommodating this sudden change in schedule. He has been giving our potential partnership much thought since this morning's meeting. Mr. Takamura continued speaking, his tone growing more serious. Victor translated carefully. He says that while he was impressed with our technology and presentation, something has been troubling him. His team conducted additional research this afternoon and discovered concerning information about Horizon's financial stability following the failed operating system launch. Michael felt the room grow cold. This was exactly what he had feared. Mr. Takamura spoke again, this time more forcefully. Victor hesitated slightly before translating. Mr. Takamura believes we have not been fully transparent about the urgency of this deal from Horizon's perspective. He says in Japan, true partnerships begin with complete honesty, even when it reveals vulnerability. Michael took a deep breath, seeing their lifeline slipping away. He looked at Victor, a silent question in his eyes. Victor gave an almost imperceptible nod. Mr. Takamura, Michael began, your concerns are valid. Please allow me to be completely transparent now. For the next 10 minutes, Michael laid out Horizon's financial situation honestly, the impact of the failed launch, the cash flow challenges, the strategic importance of the Takamura partnership. He held nothing back. When he finished, Victor translated everything without softening the difficult truths. The room fell silent as Mr. Takamura closed his eyes, appearing to meditate on what he had heard. Finally, the Japanese CEO spoke, a long and thoughtful statement. Victor translated. Mr. Takamura says he deeply appreciates your honesty. He says this level of transparency changes everything. In Japanese business culture, admitting vulnerability is not seen as weakness but as a sign of honor and trust. Mr. Takamura continued, his expression warming slightly. He says he is now more inclined to move forward with the partnership, not less, but he has one condition. Victor paused, looking directly at Michael. Wishes to work primarily with me as his point of contact at Horizon, as he values the cultural bridge I provide. Michael felt relief wash over him. Please tell Mr. Takamura that would be our preference as well. Mr. Alvarez has just been appointed our Director of International Relations specifically because we recognize the value of his unique abilities. When Victor translated this, Mr. Takamura smiled broadly for the first time. He responded with evident approval. Mr. Takamura says this appointment shows wisdom on your part. He says. Victor paused, seeming slightly embarrassed. He says he was testing us today. When we met this morning, he recognized that I was not originally an executive based on subtle cultural cues. He was curious to see how Horizon would utilize someone with my abilities. My appointment answers that question favorably. Michael was stunned. The entire day had been a test, one they had nearly failed until they made the right decision for reasons they hadn't even fully understood. The meeting continued with renewed energy, discussing specific terms of the partnership. By 6:00 p.m., they had reached preliminary agreements on all major points, with final contracts to be signed the following day. As the Takamura delegation prepared to leave, the Japanese CEO approached Victor and spoke to him privately in Japanese. Victor nodded respectfully in response. After their guests had departed, Jonathan approached Michael, his earlier anger replaced by begrudging respect. It seems your unconventional decision paid off. It seems so, Michael agreed. though we succeeded for reasons we didn't anticipate. What did Takamura say to Victor at the end? Jonathan asked. Victor, who had overheard, answered for himself. He said that in his 50 years of business, he has learned that a company's greatest assets are often hidden in plain sight. He was pleased to see that Horizon had learned this lesson as well. Jonathan nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps we all have. He extended his hand to Victor. Welcome to the executive team, Mr. Alvarez. I believe the board will find your appointment inspired. As Jonathan left, Rebecca approached Michael. We should share this development with the company. It's not just a good news story, it's a cultural statement. Michael agreed. Draft an announcement for tomorrow, but first we need to finish what we started today. He turned to Victor. The executive meeting was interrupted earlier. I believe we have some unfinished business. Which brings us back to where we began, Michael standing before his executive team, declaring his failure as a leader despite their apparent success. I failed this company, Michael repeated, the emotion in his voice genuine. For years, I've preached innovation while ignoring the most valuable resources right under my nose. The executives looked uncomfortably at Victor, now sitting in his place at the table. It's not just about Victor, Michael continued. It's about how many others we've overlooked, how many voices we haven't heard, how many perspectives we've missed. He straightened his shoulders, finding strength in the vulnerability he now embraced. Starting tomorrow, we're implementing a company-wide skills inventory. Not just professional certifications, but languages spoken, countries lived in, unique experiences. We're creating a mentorship program that pairs employees across departments and levels. And we're revising our promotion criteria to value demonstrated ability over traditional credentials. Rebecca nodded approvingly. The CFO looked skeptical but said nothing. Other faces around the table showed a mixture of surprise, uncertainty, and cautious support. This isn't just about doing the right thing, Michael continued. Though that would be reason enough, it's about making Horizon stronger. Today proved that diversity of experience and perspective leads to better outcomes. Victor saved this company not in spite of his unusual career path, but because of it. Michael looked at Victor with genuine respect. The Takamura partnership will keep us afloat financially, but these changes, recognizing the full potential of all our people, that's what will make us truly innovative again. The boardroom doors opened and Diane entered. Mr. Jennings, the all-company email about Mr. Alvarez's appointment has gone out. We've already received dozens of responses. Positive? Michael asked. Overwhelmingly, people are sharing their own hidden talents and experiences. Diane smiled. Did you know the receptionist on the third floor was a software engineer in Ukraine, or that the cafeteria manager speaks 5 languages? Michael shook his head, a mixture of wonder and regret washing over him. No, I didn't know, but I intend to find out. He turned back to his executive team. Change starts now. Either we embrace this new direction or we admit that our talk of innovation has been just that, talk. One by one, the executives around the table nodded their agreement, some more enthusiastically than others. Victor sat quietly, his presence itself a powerful statement about the change underway. As the meeting concluded, Michael felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The Takamura deal would save them financially, but today's revelation had done something more important. It had reminded him why he built this company in the first place. Not just to create technology, but to harness human potential, Victor approached as the others filed out. Your father would be proud, he said quietly. Michael looked surprised. You know about my father, Victor smiled. I clean your office, remember? I've seen the photo on your desk, the one with him marching in Selma, the inscription on the back. To my son, never forget that dignity has no job title. Michael felt his eyes grow moist. I had forgotten. Thank you for reminding me. No, Victor replied, extending his hand. Thank you for seeing me. Michael took his hand, a gesture that symbolized not just a new professional relationship, but a fundamental shift in perspective. In the simple act of truly seeing one person, he had begun to transform an entire company. Outside the boardroom windows, the setting sun cast a golden glow across the city skyline, the same view Michael had seen countless times before. But today, for the first time in years, he looked at it with new eyes. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.